Welcome to Passion for Sound, the channel dedicated to thorough and honest reviews of headphones, earphones, DACs, headphone amps, other components and accessories. Basically everything audio related except power amps and passive speakers. My name's Lachlan and my goal is to explore and discuss all kinds of audio topics, even the controversial ones, to help us all find more enjoyment from music. Thanks for watching and enjoy the video. Hey folks, welcome to a Passion for Sound emergency audio review. And I'm saying emergency because normally I run most of my reviews in a first in, first out basis. So that means whatever comes in first from suppliers, retailers, patrons that loan things to me, they go in the queue first to get reviewed. And I'm currently booked up all the way through into sort of March or April at this stage. But when I received the BLON BL-30 the other day, I was not only compelled to push it forward in the queue, but also to drop this review out of my normal sequence of Wednesday and Saturday releases. So that's why you're receiving this review on a strange day, and also you'll find that there was a review just gone on Saturday and another one coming on Wednesday. So this is what I'm calling an emergency review, and I'll explain shortly why that is. But first and foremost, let me introduce the BLON BL-30. I bought the BLON BL-30 from Drop for I think it was $100 US. It retails elsewhere for $119 US, so it's a very affordable budget style headphone. For those of you here in Australia, that means it's about 155 Australian dollars for retail price. So it's very well priced, but obviously even if it is well priced, it still has to sound decent, fit well, look good, etc. And so to break suspense a little bit at this point, I just want to share that the reason I'm doing an emergency review is I think you should absolutely keep your money and stay far, far clear of the BLON BL-30. I normally in my reviews try to be positive and balanced in my take, so I look at a product from the terms of who is going to enjoy it and who maybe isn't going to enjoy it. In this case though, I'm going to be much more black and white and say just don't buy the BLON BL-30, and I'll explain in just a moment why. There are a couple of redeeming features to them, but overall I think they are a dreadful example of a budget headphone that comes nowhere near the success of something like the BLON BL-03 that I absolutely love, and which was largely the reason why I bought the BLON BL-30s without any reviews to go on. The BLON BL-03 is a fantastic example of how cheap audio can sound great. The BLON BL-30 though is a fantastic example of how cheap audio can go horribly wrong. But let me talk a bit more about the headphones. When you get them as a budget headphone, all you actually get is this very basic hard case. It's just a box. There's no molding inside or anything. It's just a plain box with a handle, which is nice. But realistically, you're not going to want to take these with you anywhere anyway, as I'll explain in a second. The cable is actually really nice. So they come with a beautiful, it's like a spiral wrapped or a twisted cable, I should say. It's got a nice connector, both at the main amplifier end, but also at the ear cup ends. It uses 3.5mm throughout. So it's a lovely cable, and it's definitely something that I think other companies like Hi-Fi-Man could take a leaf out of their book. Moving on though to the headphones. When I saw the photos of these, I thought they looked fantastic. I thought they looked stylish, cool, a bit retro, a bit funky, and I just thought they were going to be a brilliant headphone. The reality of it when you get them is that the cups themselves look great. They've got this, again, really retro feel. They're big and chunky to hold the massive 70mm drivers in these, and they feel good. They're made of solid metal with a metal grill and these little metal plates on them. So that part of it's really fantastic. The headband, when I first took it out of the box, I thought, yeah, it's okay. It's not too bad. I was happy with it. But as I started to try to use it, things rapidly changed. So first and foremost, the headband is incredibly cheap and tacky. It looks like it's going to last well. It's all metal with metal connections everywhere. The adjustment sliders are pretty solid. They're looser than something like a ZMF, which I'm about to review shortly, but they're also not too bad. One of the screws on mine was a bit loose where it joined to the yoke around the ear cup, but nothing major. I just held the spline still and spun the cup until it tightened up. So that's not a problem, and those things do happen from time to time. I can absolutely forgive that. What I can't forgive though is when you try to put these on your head. When you try to put them on your head, the headband wants to stay flat like that. It doesn't actually allow the headphones to wrap around your head in the right angle, and it wants to keep the headphones flat against your head instead of allowing the right sort of tilt. Now, I'm not an industrial designer, so I don't know the ins and outs of what's gone wrong here. What I do know though is that when I put them on my head, at first they feel comfortable, but then I became really aware of this lack of seal under my ears, and particularly if I have them on my head like so, and I touch either side when I'm listening to music, the sound quality changes drastically, which says to me there's no way to consistently get the right sound out of these because they're not going to fit the same way on every person. You may be thinking that's not too bad, they might work for me, I've got a different shaped head to Lachlan. Yeah, absolutely, that might be true if it weren't for the fact that even when you get a decent seal, the tuning of these is shocking. Shocking is probably too strong, I'm probably going too far now. It's really not good though. So it's got a thickness and a muddiness to the sound throughout, and as you'll see from the graph I put on screen, there's this massive suck out around 2 kilohertz. And so that takes away all sense of clarity and precision. It seems to mess up the soundstage focus a little bit as well. It just makes for a very uninspiring listen. When I first received the BLON BL-30, I was in the process of writing up my notes for the upcoming HiFiMan HE400 review. And being a relatively similar price, these are a little bit cheaper than the HE400s, I decided to put them up against the HE400s for part of my comparisons in that review. And that was where I discovered the massive shortcomings of the BLON BL-30. These things are a bit of a train wreck. It's like BLON have decided that they've had great success with the BLON BL-03, which is a bit of a darker tuning, and they thought, let's make a darker tuning headphone that people are going to like just as much. The problem is something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. I think the idea of using the big 70mm drivers was nice in terms of trying to create almost an ear speaker type effect, but unfortunately they haven't set the headband and suspension mechanisms up properly to allow those ear speakers to sit where they need to sit. The result is highly variable sound, and it's also poorly tuned. I don't think they've managed that 70mm driver well enough, and it's causing all sorts of problems with the frequency response, but also not just that, the transients and the speed of the driver feel like they're just lacking. I don't have the ability to test impulse responses here, but I imagine when somebody does, they're going to find some pretty horrible impulse response. It just sounds to me like the whole thing's wading through mud when trying to reproduce the sound. Oh, and coming back around to the earpads, something else I didn't mention is that despite looking pretty cool in the way these are designed, as you might have just heard, every time you pick these up, the cups want to bang together. So it's going to take no time at all if you own a pair of these before you start to get chipped paint on both sides of the ear cups, depending on how you put them down. So there's absolutely nothing about the BLON BL-30s other than maybe the look of them that I can recommend. Oh, and the cable's good. So unless you want to spend $119 for some wall art and a spare headphone cable for certain headphones, you're really going to be struggling to justify the purchase of a pair of BLON BL-30s. I'd recommend that you save your money, go for something higher up the price range, like a pair of HiFiMans, maybe a decent pair of IEMs, but absolutely don't waste your money on the BLON BL-30s. I'm not even going to bother giving you comparisons in this video because they don't deserve it. And I don't mean that to sound harsh. What I mean is it would be a waste of time for me to go through comparisons because all I'm going to be doing is telling you how muddy and thick and uninspiring these are in comparison to everything else I tried. I even actually did a test with the COS Porta Pros, those tiny little cheap headphones, as a quick test of whether I was completely mad thinking these were as bad as they were, and I would still choose the COS Porta Pros over the BLON BL-30s. The Porta Pros aren't perfect, but for the money, you'd buy 2 or 3 pairs of those before you'd buy the BLON BL-30s. So for now, I'll leave you to it. I hope this emergency review has saved you some money. If you've already bought the BLON BL-30s and you're as disappointed as I am, I'm very sorry. I'm in the same boat that you are. If you've bought them and you really like them, let us know in the comments down below what it is you like about them, because maybe they're going to appeal to certain people. Maybe there's a modding opportunity out there for those that are heavily into modding. I'll leave that to you in the comments to let us know. For now though, I'll leave you to it. Happy listening, unless you got some BLON BL-30s, and I'll see you here next time on Passion for Sound.